Okay. Okay. Well, Colleen, you know who I am, but I'm Andy Harwood from the Vaz+Harwood team. I'll just say it for the recording. Sorry about the boring background and the lack of my hat, but I feel like my face is in so much shadow, and I'm just at the office in a conference room today. It's just the way it's got to be. So, thanks for joining us. If you're watching us on the recording, thanks for tuning in. We're going to go over all of the basics of buying a house. I'm going to take you through the whole process. I'm going to give you a lot of practical information and try to compress this into half an hour to 45 minutes. So I'll go along at a bit of a clip here, and just feel free to jump in with any questions or thoughts. And I want to start off by just asking, do you have any pressing questions or anything that you want to make sure that we cover, or anything that's really top of mind? If not, that's okay, but I want to just ask if
Um,
there's
I've
anything.
I've owned houses before, but I've I don't know, kind of acquired them like when I got married or whatever. So I haven't
Yeah,
gone through the all the
yeah.
we went through the paperwork, but it was like we bought my childhood home from
Mhm.
my dad, and so
Mhm.
it was pretty quick and easy, and it not like going through the whole process of looking for a
Yeah.
place um and I'm kind of stuck because I have to almost wait until the place in Texas is sold to have the money to buy something else. And so
Mhm.
it's kind of like being in
Yep.
limbo.
Well, this is a good time to get a good handle on the home buying process. I'll make sure that's a lot of what this is about, what I've got in our deck here, just to go over the whole process. If anybody doesn't know, I co-own the Vaz+Harwood team, which is a real estate team operating out of Keller Williams Premier Realty here in the Twin Cities. Um, I've got three kind of first thoughts for everybody that I like to plant in everyone's head who's thinking about buying a house. Congratulations on buying a house or heading down that path, because the average net worth of a homeowner is about 40 times the net worth of a renter, national averages. So home ownership is huge, and there's no wrong time to do it. But if you can make that leap from renting to home ownership, it's a huge game changer financially. Um, big stuff. Um, your mindset is a lot of what's going to determine the outcome and how quickly you can do things, and just um, how this process goes. I find that buyers who aren't really either too motivated, or they're not, their head just isn't in the game. Often they aren't as successful buying a house, or they give up on the process or whatever. So I really believe, well, where there's a will, there's a way. So if you're determined to buy a house, you're going to do it, guaranteed. And I'm just here to help you in a professional capacity, but it really has to come from within. I've seen people who were barely qualified to buy a house get great opportunities and find amazing houses, and totally make it happen. So it's so much about how you are thinking about this going into it. Um, you bring your game, I bring my game to the table to help you. Third thing I want to tell every buyer right up front: start going to open houses. You are free and should feel comfortable going to any open houses at any price point, anywhere. Just walk into them. This should be a new hobby for everybody who's thinking about buying a house, is just to go to Nora's nodding because she went to like 40 open houses or something before they bought,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And we met
Yep.
Caroline at an open house, and now here
Right.
we are.
The rest is history. So don't meet any good realtors at the open houses. Hire us, but but don't drive past an open house and be like, oh, I can't afford that one, I shouldn't go in. No realtor at the open house is going to know who who's qualified or not, and it doesn't matter. It's all about just who walks in, because you might know somebody, you might be looking for your parents or somebody else. It doesn't make any difference. And every time you go to one, you learn something, and you get more clarity. Knowledge and clarity are going to be your best friends in this, and they're going to help you so much, especially later in the process. So where are you in the home buying journey? Everybody is at a certain place, and there are more or less 4 stages that I think our customers fall into, and I want to help everybody in all 4 of these bread categories, but they need different things. So people who are just starting to think about home ownership, they're really in the dreamer category. They're just wondering if they can do this, when they could do it. They're just starting to think about it. Maybe I'd like to own a home someday. And so my job is to help dreamers have hope, have some ideas on how to head down this path and start working on credit and savings and things like that, and just what it takes to be a homeowner. Planners are people who they're really working on it now. They've gone from just thinking about buying a house to actively saving a down payment, or thinking about where they want to live, maybe going to a lot of open houses, that kind of thing. Shoppers are people who are qualified to buy a house. They've been pre-qualified by a lender. They're ready to go, but they're not necessarily, they don't have a lease that's coming due or some reason why they've got to buy right now. They might just be looking at houses here and there, and could buy when they're ready. People who are transactors are ready to go. They want to buy a house within the next month or 2. And so a lot of realtors are more comfortable or more used to helping the shoppers and transactors because they're going to do business quicker. We like to help everyone at every stage. I'm never going to pressure anyone. I just want to take you where you're at and help you along the home buying journey. Good questions to ask yourself. Beyond just price, what your top price range would be. These are the main things that people think about when buying a house. Often, whether they're buying a single family, a condo, a townhouse, is important. The number of beds and baths, how big it is, and its location. Often schools is a big factor. But then there are a lot of other things, some of which are obvious and some are less obvious. I've had people need a very specific type of house or floor plan because of their pets or hobbies or things like that. And that's one of the things I find the most interesting about this business, is helping people make their life in a new place and being part of that. So if there's something that's really interesting about your life and what you need the home for, share it with us, because that can help us help you find the right house and be successful in this. Other considerations, if you have a house to sell at the same time, we need to know that, and we need to coordinate those 2 processes. We do it all the time, but that's a big important part of it. One of the things that I like to ask our buyers is, how long will you own this next house for? Now, of course, not everyone knows that, but you might have some idea whether you think you might own this for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. Of course, we never know what life will throw at us, but it could be a different type of purchase depending on that. And we can help you with a longer term real estate strategy too. Some people want to buy a house for 2 to 3 years, and then they want to just use that as a starter home. And that could be a very different type of house than something that you're looking to live in for a long time, maybe raise a family, whatever. And then also, I like to plant the idea in our buyers' heads to really separate what your needs and your wants are. So some of these things might be needs and some of them might be wants. And if you have more clarity on which are which, that will serve you well. No house is perfect, and very few houses will take care of all the needs and all the wants. So knowing what is absolutely essential, or it's a deal breaker, and knowing what would be nice to have. These are just internal questions to ask yourself. So with that out of the way, the buying process itself looks like this, and we will go through every one of these steps. So I won't talk too much about each one of these right now because I've got basically a slide for each of these. But starting in teal over here, assembling your team and getting pre-approved is the first step. Starting showings, setting up a search and starting showings, making an offer, getting that offer negotiated, putting down earnest money when it gets accepted, doing an inspection on the house after the accepted offer, negotiating anything else that needs to be done after inspection if we have the leverage to do it. And then, so this blue phase, we're going from offer to like offer accepted to buying the house for sure you're buying it. And then the lender does an appraisal. We'll talk more about that. Not a whole lot happens in here for you. There's often about a month or more where you don't really have to do a whole lot except line up the utilities and keep in touch with us and the lender. The day of closing or the day before, we'll do a final walkthrough together at the property. And then on closing day, a lot of people ask me what happens on closing day. Well, you get the house, that's it. So you sign some papers for 20 minutes or so, half an hour, and then you leave with the keys and the house is yours. You get possession immediately in almost every case. So putting your team together, you need a realtor and a lender. You need high quality people for both of these. It's going to be not just a matter of a bit of personal preference, although that's of course a big factor, but it's a big part of getting the house you want is having a good team. You're going to need a realtor who knows how to get the offer accepted, have the highest chance of it, and you're going to need a lender who will do a really good job for you. The biggest things and the biggest complaints I hear from people who weren't happy with their realtors and lenders is that they weren't responsive and available enough. So we try to be communicating really well with our clients and just making sure that we're in good touch always throughout the process. And we should be thinking strategically for you too. Thinking about what would be the best strategy for you in every situation. Choosing a lender is very important. Of course, the rates matter, but most lenders will match rates with another lender, maybe not online ones necessarily. But sometimes when people come with an out-of-state lender or an online lending place, we kind of cringe because it can sink your offer, because a lot of realtors, including us, don't necessarily have the highest confidence in some of the places out there that we don't know, and it can be a little bit more bureaucratic, like to get answers on things. We don't really want to call into a call center. We want a person. So it's really important to have an in-state kind of boots on the ground lender who's a real person you can talk to, because also this lender is going to be pulling your financials, your taxes, your W-2s, your credit. It's a little bit of an intimate relationship. You need somebody who not only you can trust, but is going to kind of get you. So we have a few lenders that we have worked with over the years that have become our trusted circle, and we refer them selectively based on who we think might be a good fit, personality-wise even. So that part of it is very important, and also the lender being available evenings and weekends. makes a huge difference, because that's a lot of when offers are being written and accepted, and the lender will need to call the other agent, and you might need to get a pre-approval letter, and so on and so forth. So up here, I've got kind of the different types of lenders, and none of these are bad institutions. They're just I think some of them are better for mortgage than others. So like, I think credit unions are a great place for personal banking, and if you need a small loan of some kind, they can be great, and they can do a competent job on mortgage. But most credit unions are closed on the weekend, and it just depends. There are some good lenders at credit unions too who are on the ball and responsive and available and whatever. You just have to make sure that you got that kind of a relationship, and not one where it's 9 to 5, because that won't work. Big banks can be more bureaucratic in their lending and their underwriting practices. So it's a little bit more of being a number, I think, sometimes, than it is being a client. Small banks too, all of these institutions, they have mortgage products because they want to sell everything to every customer, everything available. But what I really prefer, and what realtors really prefer for their clients, is mortgage specialists. So they're either mortgage broker companies, or they're banks that really specialize in mortgage. One of the banks that we like is Bell Bank. Now, they do personal banking and other stuff too, but they have a very, very good mortgage department, and they take that part of their business very seriously. So this can make a big difference, the quality of the lender that you go with. As realtors, we don't have any financial compensation from the lenders that we refer. We don't get anything more for it. We just want our customers to be well taken care of. So the lenders we refer have a big presence in the real estate business, and they wouldn't have that if they didn't do a good job on the real estate side of things. So if you're talking to somebody about a mortgage, a lot of customers come to us, and maybe they've had a conversation, and that's with a lender. And if you have, and you like that person, that's great. We'll totally work with them. If you want another referral, we can refer you to somebody. So what does it take to buy a house? I cannot actually go too much into the lending side of it, because I'm not licensed for that. But on our side, what our customers need is a pre-approval from a lender. So you've talked to the lender, you've had a meeting, they've reviewed your financials, they've gotten you pre-approved up to a certain amount. And we have that, we know that you're pre-approved. You're going to need a down payment of some kind. Usually that's 3% or more. Often 5% or 10%, but 3 is usually the minimum. There are some lenders who will do down to 1% too. Closing costs is often 2 to 3% more of the purchase price. And so those are going to be what you'll need at closing. Now, there are some ways that you can get some help with these too, and I'll go into that in a sec. Earnest money is usually 1 to 2% of the offer. And then we do have all of our buyers sign buyer rep with us too, just so that we know that we're working together, and we've made the proper disclosures to you, and we're committed to you. The types of financing that are out there are conventional, FHA, and VA. I don't want to go in too much detail into all of these, but most buyers can probably qualify for conventional. All of these have a little bit of different credit limits and credit ranges and that kind of thing. Often, if you can't qualify for a conventional mortgage, you can qualify for an FHA one, which is basically a government backed mortgage. And so sometimes the rates can be a little bit higher, but the qualification can be a little bit lower. So that's a way to get people into a house a little bit easier. And then VA is if you're a veteran and are able to take advantage of veterans financing. And there are a few other things out there too, but I don't want to go into too much detail. But bottom line, get a relationship with a lender. The lender will know exactly what type of financing is the best option for you. And similarly with this, down payment and other assistance programs, in the Twin Cities area, there are something like 40-ish down payment assistance programs available. And we actually are not the people we being the realtors are not the people to decide for you on that or to counsel you as much as the lender. We might be able to point you in the right direction, but the lender has to be the person to navigate that because they know how much money you make and whether you qualify. A lot of them are income-based qualifying, or for first-time home buyers, or for certain neighborhoods. Certain neighborhoods have grant money available in some cases, or a loan that is paid back if you sell the house. A lot of down payment assistance programs are not just free money. You owe the money back if you sell the house or sell it within a period of time. So I always say, if you don't need these, then don't use them. Because it's better if all things considered, it's better if you use your own money and you don't need to take a additional loan that you have to pay back. But if you need them and it's your path to home ownership, then I'm glad that they're here and available, because they help a lot of people get into homes, and ultimately that's a good thing. I want to say a couple words about getting pre-approved with a lender. Once you get pre-approved, don't change anything in your finances between the pre-approval and buying and closing on a house. We have heard of stories where people have messed up their credit because they went and bought furniture on credit, or they loaded up their credit card or whatever. You don't want to do anything. Definitely don't do anything without talking to your lender. Don't open any new accounts, don't close any new accounts, don't buy a car, don't buy anything on credit or change credit usage between the pre-approval and actual closing on a house. That's a huge point. If you are working on your credit and you need help, we're the best people, us and the lender. You do not need to pay a credit repair company. Don't pay for credit counseling. There are people who we do it for free. We'll help you. Between us and the lender, we can take care of you. And we have personally gone through some credit ups and downs, so we know things pretty well, and we're very sympathetic. So once you have the pre-approval, we'll set up a search. You can search on search.vaz+Harwood.com anytime, set up your own searches. But when you're pre-approved, we'll set you up with another MLS search that's a little bit more able to be dialed in. So we can get very granular in terms of school districts or map boundaries, or however you want to search. We'll set it up for you. Our goal is to make sure that our buyers don't miss any inventory. There should not be any houses coming on the market that you will not see that are available. Don't use Zillow, don't use Realtor.com, because they have outdated inventory, and they will not accurately reflect what our local market has. Use our stuff. It's fine to browse Zillow all the rest of your life, but when you're actually looking for a house, it's better to use the Realtor's search portal. Most of our buyers find the house. It's a little bit of a myth that realtors find the house for people. Of course, sometimes we do, but we rely on our buyers to let us know which houses you want to see. After all, we're not going to live there, so what I like and what you like might be different, even if I know you well. I want to know what you're interested in seeing, and then we'll get you into it. And if we're looking for a while and we get the feel for what you want, then we'll understand better how to push some more houses to you too. But especially in the beginning, Tell us what you want to see and we'll book it. Depending on the market, things can move very, very quickly. So if you want to see a house, we really need to go as soon as you're able to. And this gets back to this whole thing. Sometimes I have buyers who they say they want to buy a house, but then they just never seem to be available. Like, oh, we're gone, we're on vacation, we can't do it this time, the kids are napping at that time. And it's like, well, do you want to buy a house or not? Because if we can't get in today or tomorrow, it may be gone. So, and especially in like very current market that we have right now. So when we get into a house and you want to make an offer, the first thing that we're going to do is put together a strategy, and it's going to be different for every house. There's no cookie cutter solution. We have to know how long the houses have been on the market, if the price is competitive, if they have other offers in hand already, maybe if they seems like they've had a lot of showings and would expect multiple offers. We need to know, how much do you want the house? Is this a slam dunk? Like, do you want to make the absolute top offer that you possibly can to make sure we get this one? Or are we going to give it a try and see if we make it? I'm okay with either, but I'm usually more of a play to win person. I think if we're going to go to the trouble to make an offer, it should be a house that you really want, personally. But we decide together on a strategy, and we counsel our clients on what would be the best strategy for each term of the offer. So speaking of that, the parts of the offer are the offer price. Well, in fact, I've got a slide for these, so let's go through them that way. The offer price is just the amount, face value of the offer. It's usually, if it's a newer listing that's just come on the market, it's going to be asking price, almost certainly, or higher. It could be in a bidding war. If the house has been on the market a while, we might be able to offer lower, but it probably needs to be on at least 3 weeks. The earnest money is the amount of money that's going to go in escrow if the offer is accepted. 1% is about the minimum rule of thumb. 2% is nice if you can do it. It doesn't cost the buyer any more money. It's just more money that's in escrow that gets credited back to you at closing. So it's part of your down payment and closing costs. But when the offer is accepted, that money needs to be available. So if you're buying a $200,000 house, you need $2,000 for earnest money, give or take. It is possible to ask the seller for a contribution to the buyer's costs. So remember, we talked about there may be 2 to 3% in closing costs. We can ask for up to 3%, usually, in some cases more. When the market is very competitive like it is right now, I tell people it's almost, I would assume it's very likely not possible to get this. If it is, if a house has been sitting there and we may be able to get it for you, we try. But if the market is pretty competitive, I would say don't assume we're going to get it. If you need help with your with your closing costs, it may be better to look at a down payment assistance program than assume that we'll get this. When the offer's accepted, we go into what's called the inspection contingency part of it. And that's usually a few days, often around a week, that the buyer has a chance to hire an inspector and get the house checked out. It's the last chance to back out, basically. So if the house doesn't check out during inspection, and by the way, we have an inspector that we recommend, but you can have anybody inspect it that you want to. It's your inspection. The cost is around $500 to $800 out of pocket, so that's another thing that you need to have liquid to pay the inspector. It is the last chance to get out of the deal. So if there is something that's not looking right about the house, that's a big problem, big unknown, we can send a cancellation if you want us to, and we can get you out of it. You will be out the cost of the home inspection, but the earnest money gets refunded in full. Even if there isn't something in inspection, but you need to get out of the deal for some reason, this is the time to do it during this contingency. We are seeing inspections waived in some cases, depending on how crazy the market is. When it's really, really lopsided in favor of sellers, it's we do see sometimes where buyers are writing offers without an inspection contingency or doing an inspection. And that sounds crazy to some people, but when it's really competitive and you're up against 10 offers or more, that might be the only way that you have a chance to get the house. So everyone has their own tolerance for risk. Every house is different. I wouldn't do it on a house that looks like it has some deferred maintenance or whatever. Very few people would do that. But if it's a very clean, well-maintained house, buyers might just say, you know, we'll just take inspection off the table, save $800. I want the house. Let's see if we can get it done. We write in what the closing date will be. Often sellers have the upper hand in determining what that would be, but 30 days out is about the minimum. When we submit the offer, we call up the listing agent. We really pitch the offer, put in our good word for you, and the lender will call the agent too. And then hopefully we just get an acceptance. That's the ideal. They just love the offer and it's good. They don't have anything else and they take it. They might make a counter on some term, but then we can negotiate. We don't negotiate without talking to our buyer. So we'll talk to you, go over what that is and see if it's something that you want to agree to. Usually it's price. But in any way we can, in any case, we can hone the deal a little bit more, hopefully get to a yes for both parties, and we've got a deal. In multiple offer situations, we could lose. They might just take another offer and we may never get a counter. So in a multiple offers, we want to make the best offer we can possibly make. Yeah. So when you have an accepted offer, we do the inspection, and then if there's anything to negotiate on an inspection, we take care of that and help you understand what we can negotiate on and what we can't. Usually things that are broken, dangerous, big unknowns are relatively easy to negotiate on. But after the inspection is done and we've signed off and we've either renegotiated anything we need to after inspection or there isn't anything to negotiate, and you're not in that inspection contingency anymore, we have a full deal at that point. You're buying the house, and we're headed toward closing. The lender does an appraisal at that point, and there's a period of a few weeks between the inspection and closing where the lender's finishing the underwriting on your loan. They do the appraisal, and you just get ready to close. Closing day is fun. We'll meet you there, sign paperwork, and get the keys, and the house is yours. So that's pretty much the whole process. Next steps for buyers are really, it's never too early to get your real estate and lending team in place. We have been working with some of our buyers for 3 or 4 years who needed to have some time to either be ready in life or get ready financially or whatever. So get those people in place just like you'd have a dentist and an attorney and a family doctor, so that we're here to help you. Go to open houses. And that's all I have for today.